Hello, everyone. Welcome to our workshop. So it's about togetherness through cancer. And we're going to have a panel and community discussion. So it's an educational section to know what to say, what's proper to say, not to say, and what people that are going through cancer. Today, we're going to have some house rules. First of all, no drinks or coffee, or just water. That's okay. Also, don't be respectful of other people's journeys. Don't be disrespectful. And if you need a break, go ahead and do some self-care. Take a break. Make sure that only one person is signing or speaking at a time. And this workshop, it's going to be downloaded on Facebook Live. So just so you're aware, it'll be streaming on Facebook. There's also some emergency exits here. You can also exit back there. Today we're going to be focusing on introducing ourselves. I'm Damara, and I'm a mental health counselor with GLAAD. I'm going to be leading the workshop, and I'm going to be on the panel as well. So I'm going to introduce the panel a little later. So why mental health matters? Why is it important? So that's something we're going to discuss. Also, the emotional impact of cancer and how it impacts our mental health. Also, what are some common mental health challenges? We're going to be discussing some commonalities of mental health. And how do we use some healthy coping mechanisms, healthy ways? And the power of community. How do you impact us, and how do we impact you through cancer? Also, the panel will end with some resources. So why does mental health matter? Why? So cancer affects emotional, mental, and social health, not just the body, right? So sometimes the body can make some changes. You're not going to have the same life as you had before. Like, for example, I used to have a dog, I used to travel, right? And then when I started having cancer, right, I can no longer drive, I have to stay home. So that affects your social lifestyle, your emotional lifestyle, just so many different ways. So that's the before and after, right? Also, mental health, it does, like, I know once you had cancer, you can become very anxious. And now you have to go to the doctor, make doctor appointments, and, maybe you don't know if you have it, you don't, like if you have some hereditary background or not, or if you're next in your family line. So yeah, it definitely affects your mental health. You could become depressed, anxious, just worried, just go down that rabbit hole. And your body's not going to be the same as before. You're probably going to feel differently, but also the mental health is going to affect you. When did it start? How did it start? It can impact you and everybody else too. So why do we need mental health services? Is to support our mental health, our emotional support, community, your village, you need that. For example, some people might need to help you drive to work, or bring you some food, or just have some community support, some time. Yeah, once you have cancer, it is important to be prepared mentally for that. Okay. So there is an emotional impact with cancer. So once you have cancer, you can become very emotional, right? And so these are the different impacts that you can have. Like you can have fear of reoccurrence, loss of control or identity. You know, how am I going to let my children know? How am I going to let my family know, my coworkers? Just a whole bunch of thoughts. In general, it also impacts not just the one that has cancer, but the caregivers. You know, they can have burnout, exhaustion, you know, people can start being really worried about you and trying to figure out how long you're gonna have this for, you know, how long you're gonna last. And it's a lot. And also cancer can change your body too, like your, I guess just different body changes. You know, that will affect your emotions too. Also, you know, one of the emotional impacts is grief. There's different levels, you know, right in the beginning, or maybe you know, towards the end, like, you know, there's a lot of grief both for the, you know, survivor or the caregiver. You know, having to take care of myself and take care of other people, you know, and just how do we start? That there's a lot of grief going on. So common mental health challenges, there's different types, right? There's different examples like anxiety, worry, anger, depression, just not knowing what to do, numbness, you know, maybe staying in bed for a couple of weeks. Or just asking so many questions, you know, just panicking, trying to figure out why. Maybe you're staying up all night. Maybe you're just sleeping a lot. Isolation or withdrawal. Like, what does withdrawal look like? Like, for example, you used to go to a certain community and, you know, you're just not showing up anymore. You're just focusing on yourself, staying at home. You know, there is some traumatic response, right? Like PTSD. Like maybe it happened during your, you know, where you were at the doctor, but your interpreter didn't show up, and you're finally like, oh, I found my interpreter. Or now you're just like, oh, I'm labeled as a cancer survivor. You know, that's traumatic. Or, you know, or like maybe you have to take care of a family member, and then now it's happening to you. So there's different types of trauma. So there's healthy ways to cope, right? To deal with your stress, with anxiety, all kinds of changes. There's meditation. You can talk to your partners, your you know, friends, counselor, your community members, people that maybe, you know, that you go to church with, some relationships there, or some nonprofit organizations that are very supportive, or have support groups with cancer, yoga, there's journaling, all kinds of big ways you can cope. So figuring different healthy ways to cope, you know, looking at the positive ways, looking at hope and how to become stable. Also, you can set up boundaries with your energy, your time. Some people will be like, come on, hang in with us. But sometimes you just need to go home and set up boundaries so you can rest. So, you know, you might have so many appointments. and just let people know like how they can support you. You know, just communicate like, hey, you know, or if you have someone that does have cancer, don't just say congratulations, you can do this, or stuff like that. No, just, you know, set up some boundaries on the way you communicate that.
Become empowered by the community and your peers, and by community members as well, because we need someone. You know, how can we give to others and have mutual support and give back as well? You know, many of us affects our self-esteem when we're in isolation, and we tend to be extremely worried. Maybe you're a caregiver or a friend or family member, and asking someone how they are makes them feel good and improves their sense of self-esteem, and we really need that. Everyone needs that. Some people may ask questions on how cancer affects your health or their health, and it's great to have that mutual support and that conversation. Validation is also extremely important. By venting and explaining how you can feel recognized and seen, and that person can feel that they're being stood with and supported. And it's worth a try. It's better to listen and feel that support and that understanding. And if you're supporting someone who has cancer, maybe offering them support can be helpful as well, rather than telling them what to do. People don't need that. What not to say. Congratulations. Avoid phrases like, you're so strong. Oh, everything happens for a reason. You're gonna be all right. At least you're alive. That's what's important. You beat it. You should be happy. You know, maybe you survived through something, but the trauma is still there. The residual trauma remains, and you have all those memories, and you're still going through it. And why should you not say these things? Some people might think it's positive, but it really minimizes someone's pain. It might pressure them to feel positive. A phrase like congratulations might be received in different ways, and it doesn't always make people feel better. The goal is to make folks with cancer feel seen, heard, and supported. What to say instead? There's even more than what are on this list, and some folks might be comfortable with certain phrases and some with others, but you can pick and choose what might feel natural for you to say. I'm really happy you're here. That sounds incredibly hard. I don't know what to say, but I care. How can I support you right now? I'm here to support you. Can I bring you food? Can I help you in some way? You don't have to go through this alone. I'm here for you. Or there's many more. And maybe later in the panel, we can have a further discussion about the experiences of these cancer survivors and ask them what phrases they prefer, and I'm sure they'd be happy to share them. And now we're going to start our panel. Let's invite our panelists to the stage. Dr. Tomas Garcia. This is my name sign, and I'm also a mental health counselor here at GLAD with my colleague, Amar. First, I'd like to thank the panel and the panelists who are here today. I'm going to introduce them. Or please introduce yourself with your name. Hello, my name is Christine Joy. This is my name sign, KJ. And I'm a cancer survivor, and I haven't became a survivor yet. I'm actually still fighting cancer. And I'm in stage 2, and I'm a double, triple. I'm negative now for breast cancer, which is great, although I was stage 2. My name is Janice Quinones. And I have epidural cancer, which is EC for short. And what that means is in the ovaries, you have ovaries on both sides. And the uterus is here. And there's a thin wall that's called the endometrium. And the cancer is there. And I am stage 1, 1C. And I'd like to describe a little bit about, everyone knows stages 1, 2, 3, and 4. I think most folks are familiar with that. But that these add additional levels and subsets of A, B, C, and so on, of all 4 stages of cancers. And these are the types of cancer cells that you have. Some cancer cells slowly grow, and some are extremely aggressive. And being 1C myself, that's an aggressive type of cancer. Hello, my name is Rock. My last name is Biber. And I have several things, not just one, but a bit more. I have skin cancer, and just basically too much exposure to the sun was the cause of that. And I also have prostate cancer. And I'm stage 3. It's not aggressive, but I'm doing great. It takes a lot to explain the difference between the skin cancers, but I have the type from the sun. I had this piece surgically removed on the right side of my face, and then I have another bit of cancer here on my left ankle, and they surgically removed it. And a few months later, I had another one in the same area. It was about an inch apart from the old growth. And from the first one healed pretty quickly, and the second took quite a long time to heal. The healing process took a while because it was stitched up in a different way. The first time the wound closed after the growth was removed, and the second one, it really didn't heal well. And continued to split open and had to be re-stitched, and then again a third time. And it seemed okay after the third time, but the way that it was stitched kind of in a cross formation also opened up pretty quickly, so they actually had to use a machine called a VAC machine, which helped to tighten the stitching on the second growth. And the bone was there, the muscles, the veins, and all of that. But there wasn't too much blood. And so I was actually quite surprised that they were able to get inside there with the machine, and the nurses showed me what they were doing, and I had never seen anything like it. When I raised my ankle, you could see all the muscles moving in that part of my leg and foot. And so it was pretty impressive. It was a good lesson for the nurses because they had never seen it before, and some of the doctors hadn't seen it either, which is quite interesting. I thought doctors have seen it all, but not always. And there's always a new lesson learned for everybody. That includes us. And so then we'll know what to do with our lives and how we can survive and how we can fight. And we're not alone. The best advice I can give is just to continue being positive. If you feel uneasy and you're going through it, I felt that too at first. And I thought it impact me too much. And then folks would check on me and I felt kind of uncomfortable. And then they said, you have something. And then, I didn't really want to go through it with cancer, but then later on decided, maybe 2 years later, when they told me again, I decided to follow through with these procedures with a different doctor, and I felt a little bit more trust and confidence. And there was a polyp, and they weren't sure whether it was a sign of cancer or not. So there was about 12, and 7 of those polyps, 7 or 8, had cancer, and 2 or 3 didn't. And they said they'd have to remove the cancerous polyps, and it required surgery in this part of my body. And at the same time, I was uneasy because I had a hernia, which was another issue that needed to be operated on. And it was the same type of incision. It was right above the belly. And they removed the prostate cancer, and they had to remove both of them because both of them were signs of cancer. So they had to change everything inside regarding the tubes, the bladder, when I needed to use the restroom, and so on. And so for a few weeks, it was very difficult going through that because, of course, my life was extremely changed, and I had to make all these adjustments that were not easy. After that, I was okay. It was a lot of ups and downs. It was like a roller coaster. It took a lot of time, and if using the restroom, it might take me about 10 minutes to 2 hours. It all depended on, each time was different. And so I was going to the restroom quite often, and it affected me emotionally because I really wanted to have peace of mind and be able to spend time with friends and go out. But I had to know where I would go and figure the distance and where the restrooms were on the way. And there was a lot of things to consider that I had to go through. But I stayed positive. I had the support of my wife Doris, who's sitting right there. And she really helped me a lot to go through it. It was very difficult, but she was very patient with me. And we don't really have any negative impacts, but there was a lot of mutual support going on, which is good.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Tamara, and I'm also a cancer survivor. I started stage 0, right? That's called the DCSI. DCIS. They did notice some aggression. It was an aggressive type of cancer, so I got some immunity therapy, and they were able to get out. It was not successful though. There was still some in there. And then the rest, it was just me going to the doctor appointments, following up. And I did struggle with my nervous system. I had a hard time getting up. It was really hard. And it was just because of my muscles, and when I would stress out, I would be very tense. So I was still struggling. I can explain a little bit more later. Thank you for sharing. I know it's not easy. So I know it's not easy when cancer impacts either a family or a friend, but it's rare when people can get together and discuss it and talk about it. So it helps us that you guys are here and the lessons that you've learned, and so that we can support each other. Thank you for also, I'm sorry, can you repeat the question? So we also want to know how cancer impacted your mental health and your emotions, your physical, of course, and your spiritual. Yeah. Go ahead. Do you want to start? Okay. So cancer affected me with my worry because I was concerned for my children. I didn't want to be gone. I wanted to see them graduate, have their weddings, all kinds of stuff. And so, yeah, I was worried. So that was traumatic. And yeah, I would be emotional and I would cry often because my body was changing. It wasn't the same as before. And it's mostly just becoming more isolated. Like the doctor would say, okay, you can do certain things, but you know, I felt like I still wasn't allowed to really go out with friends because I don't want to get sick from the people that were already, like some sickness. Because I was more sensitive. My immune system was weak, because of chemo. It made my blood count lower, and it impacted my health. And yeah, my mind was just worried with that. And I was just worried about my kids. And, for example, like I couldn't get enough sleep because I was worried a lot. So, yeah, that's what I can say. Thank you. Okay, so one thing that I can think of was when the doctor said, you have cancer. It was never, why me? Why me? No, it was not that. But what about like my bones in my body? Do I have to have chemo? I'm the type of person that likes, holistic approaches. Like, for example, going to a colonoscopy. You have to go and pick up some meds to help you, that type of thing. But I like to do things a more natural way. So there's no right or wrong way. But it's just, that's how I feel, my philosophy. So I told the doctor, I don't want chemo. I want something natural, a holistic approach. The doctor said, no, you have to get chemo. It's very effective. That really impacted me. I didn't want, things to affect my bones or, I had no choice. I don't want poison in my body. Second, my faith in God was not strong. I envied my husband because he had a strong spirit, a strong faith in God. I didn't have that. I wanted that. And so I would cry because I didn't have that relationship. Now I still don't have that strong relationship. It's tough. That's all.
So when I first went to the doctor, they checked on the PSA. Do you know what PSA means? It's a check-in for your blood, basically. And so they did some blood tests. And they found that my PSA was extremely high. It was about 6 over 6.0. And they warned me that that was very high. So I had to have it surgically removed, but they gave me a choice. And what I mentioned about my prostate cancer, there's not only one type of prostate cancer, there are also other types. Some people have some swelling in their prostate, so their prostate is swollen and can be enlarged. And others who've had that issue have told me that it's extremely painful. And I didn't have that one. I felt like nothing at all. I didn't feel any pain there at all. And then when they told me I had cancer in my prostate, I was thinking of one thing, that I wasn't feeling any pain. but they explained that my prostate had some cancerous formations or cancerous growths. And so I had a choice. The first choice was to go through chemo, which I didn't want to do because I knew that it's like she mentioned, it's poisonous. It's poison inside of your body, and I agree with that concept. It's not against my religion, even though I know God, and I know God has been protecting me and guiding me through all of this, but I had to make a choice on how to heal. So they gave me two options. And the second option was you can have, well, the first option is you can have chemo, you can go through radiation, or you can go through surgery. And I said, well, what are my chances if I have this surgery, the second option? And they said, we'll surgically remove the prostate. And later on, they did find something else in my semen, which is the sperm count, but my sperm count had cancer in it. And then they said the cancer was also in my prostate. So I asked them, can I still have an erection? And the doctor said, you will. I said, so if I surgically remove my prostate, am I able to have an erection? And they said, we have some treatments to help that. And I said, okay. And are there any side effects or will anything else happen to me? The doctor said, no, everything should heal up fine. And they told me if I chose surgery, I had two options, radiation or chemo, and not have surgery, or the other way around, because it could spread. And they said, if you choose radiation, then you set surgery aside. If you choose surgery, then that's your only option. So I decided to choose surgery, the second option. And after surgery was completed, then they removed my prostate. There was cancer there, so it had to be removed. And so the bladder is also in a similar area. So I had to use a colostomy bag to use the restroom. And in general, you have it for 2 or 3 weeks, but I only needed it for about a week. And the doctor told me that I had healed pretty quickly. And that was a good sign. About a week later, they removed the colostomy bag. And they were able to remove the stitches. And I had bed rest for some time to heal. I couldn't walk too much. It was a bit uncomfortable when I had to walk. But about a week later, they removed the colostomy bag, and after that, I just had to be a bit careful. And about a week later, I felt like it had healed. And the third week, they told me I could go back to work. I said, I can go back to work? They said, yes, you can. So I listened to what the doctor said, and I was hoping that I could have all of those improvements. And my health from 6.0, of course, that was very high. And I had to go through some shots that they gave me called Lupron, which helped to heal the cancerous cells in my body. So they gave me that shot. Some people get the injections in other places. I got mine my left buttock area because I felt that it was a bit closer to it, so I thought it could be more effective. So they gave me that injection, and they said every 3 months for the next 3 years you'll need that injection. And I have one more treatment left, which is good. But I'm hoping that it all goes well. And over the years of going through that, and going through those treatments from the doctors, the injections, and all of the above, and going in for testing for PSA counts, and when it was at 6.0, it continued to drop with the following tests. And now it's at a negative reading. It's 0.040, which means that it's way below what it was. And the doctors told me that I was stage 3, and that my stage number didn't change, it remained the same. But the count dropped, and now they can't find where my cancer is. So I feel great about it. I've been approached by several people and who have been concerned, from my experience and their experience. And Other folks have told me theirs, and that their prostate cancer was a bit different than mine, but I was able to give them advice from my personal experience, and maybe these folks can make choices that can best help them go through their cancer process. And the person I spoke with said they felt good after that. You know, there's no every type of cancer is different, including prostate cancer. And I just tell everyone to continue being positive and think positive. If you have any questions, I'm very open to discussing it. And most people are not very open. They're just a bit more private because they feel ashamed or embarrassed, or maybe they feel hurt. And so you have to respect people who have cancer. But if you'd like to talk to me, I'm happy to talk. I'm good. And now I'll bring it over to my colleague.
Okay, so you had mentioned that most people are not open, especially men. We see that in the mental health profession, that men are more closed. Now you were worried about your sexual health also, and your mental health, your thoughts and feelings. How did that impact you, or did you just remain positive? How did that work?
I had mixed feelings because my concern was, how could I please my wife and share this experience with my wife? Because most of the time I had needs. Of course, men have needs too. And I was hoping that I could give her what we had in the past. It's not the same because I don't have erections at all. At first, it worked and then became weaker and weaker. And then now I'm at the point where I can't have erections any longer. So my concern is how she can be pleased and pleasured. But she told me that there's another way of how to satisfy her needs. So I said, okay. And so we talked, we had a long conversation. So I'm trying my best, but the problem is me. I need my emotional motivation and my balance in my body. And that's how I can fulfill and meet my wife's needs to make her feel satisfied. And it's not always easy. She has some needs and I may not be able to fulfill them. So I'm still fighting, you know, it never stops. I'm still fighting to give my wife everything she needs. And I'm trying the best I can. And I always have had her support. Of course, she has my support too. And the love is there. The love never has changed. The love was strong, remained. You know, if you feel positive, then the love will continue. If you become too negative, then the love may decline. But our love continues, and because we are positive people and we trust in God. He is mighty. He is the mightiest one who has led my life and my wife as well. We trust in him, not just ourselves. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you both for sharing that moment with us.
Thank you.
Go ahead and talk about. So a month ago, my father-in-law passed away because of cancer. And he already had cancer for, it lasted 2 years. He was fighting at the same time. And when I started noticing something was wrong, my husband said, go check yourself. Go to the doctor. So I was happy because my mom came and she flew from the East Coast and she came with me to my appointment. My husband was not able to. And that day, while they were screening me, they thought, oh yeah, there's a possibility. And my father-in-law was in bed, also worried. He was worried for me. So I know they asked me to change my clothes and also get the biopsy the same day. I didn't have to do another appointment, so that was really nice. I got my biopsy done. There's some injections there, and they said, we'll give you your results in 2 weeks, or we'll call you. My father-in-law wanted to know what happened, but I told him, I don't know. But he's very supportive. He was just hoping, that I wouldn't get cancer. So he was in stage 5. He was fighting, but he wanted to make sure, that's his goal, to make sure I don't get it. But 2 weeks later, I received a call, and I thought, oh gosh, that means something, that's serious. So I didn't tell my father-in-law. I just went to my doctor appointment with my husband this time. And the doctors, it was just obvious from his appearance. I was ready to cry, and the doctor just said, hold on. He said, yes, you do have cancer, but it's definitely, it's a big word, DCSI. It's DLS, a developmental aggressive cancer. Said it's in different areas, and you need immediate therapy because it's very aggressive. In two weeks, you're going to go to, we don't know, you might go to stage 3. So it's very aggressive, and my husband just was very supportive. Go ahead and make a decision. I was nervous. I didn't know what to do. I was already grieving about my father-in-law, and I was, supporting him, and my husband and I would go there. When my husband's mom would have to go to work and do things, we'd go there and take care of my father-in-law. So I didn't want my husband to have to take care of me. He's taking care of his dad, and now he has to take care of his wife. Those were my first thoughts. But my husband he's a very positive person. You can't tell, he's struggling. But he just said, you made that decision. So, I didn't want it all. I didn't want to have to go to doctor appointments, get the therapy and all that. I just felt like it was going to be too much and overwhelming. I'd rather just have it removed. So the doctor said, okay, let's schedule that surgery. And my husband was very supportive of me. And when I got out of that doctor's appointment, I didn't know, I completely lost it. I didn't know how to tell my in-law, and my husband said that would be good, you might be able to support one another. I just didn't want to put too much worry on the family. So my husband just advised me, just go for it, just tell him. So we went to my father-in-law's home, and they were outside already. I guess my husband already let them know, and my father-in-law just gave me a big hug. We cried together. That day was really impactful. And now it's been a month since he's gone. And I mean, I don't know how I'm feeling, but I don't know. I don't have the right words. I'm still processing. I'm still, he's my daddy. I don't call him father-in-law. Like, you know, we we've checked on each other, and he's always checked on me to make sure that I'm okay, and you know, and that we also have some good times. So after my surgery, I, I also have two young kids, 5 and a 2-year-old, and I told them I'm going to be at the hospital all day. They asked if they could come with me, and I said, no, that's okay, I'll come back home a few days. So I went to the surgery at the hospital, and it was long. It was supposed to be a 7-hour surgery, or 8-hour. It was from 7 in the morning to 5 at night, yeah. So I was worried for the kids when I woke up. My husband said, no, everything's okay. And I asked, what day is it? It's the next day, 2 in the afternoon. Yeah, your parents were very worried because you had some blood clot, and they tried to fix that, and they were having complications. So I was worried about it, and I didn't know what decision to make. So yeah, I guess so many things happened. So I guess the emotions were very heavy, and my parents came and they were very worried. I didn't want to put my dad through that. My dad had to come from the East Coast, and I just felt terrible about it. And the doctor said I need to stay a little longer, and I thought about my kids, and prolonging that. So, a week later after I went home, my kids said, you look different. Something's different about you. Like they had removed my breast. So I had to explain all that. And it was very tough for me. My son was only 5. Should he know? Should he not know? I mean, what do I do, right? And I just had to be very transparent with him. I told him I was sick, I had some surgery, and my son was like, oh, okay. So yeah, you might see, like me wearing different things. And he asked, can I touch you? And I said, well, just wait for me to heal. But yeah, there's a lot of emotions. And my father-in-law also drove to my home, and he's not supposed to be traveling. My mom, my mom helped him out and stuff. And just the whole experience. I mean, it was a beautiful journey, yes, but it was also hard for me. And to this day, I'm still grieving my father-in-law's death, and he didn't get to see just my journey and just how, it was successful. It's just those mixed feelings. So my mental health, I try to stay stable, and I'm grateful I have you guys, the audience, to keep me busy. And that's why I decided to host this workshop so that you can see, oh, okay, yeah, how did the panelists go through it? How do they support, they get support? Can we support you guys? So, yeah. You feeling okay? Yeah, it's just the anniversary where my father-in-law passed away. Oh. Good. So I want to thank you. for sharing how cancer has impacted your mental health. Some of you mentioned worry, you know, thoughts about the future. And you shared about how cancer impacted your mental health. Some of you mentioned worry, worry, thoughts about the future, missing out on life events, your family, your children. Some of you mentioned feeling alone or disconnected from God or feeling numb. Thank you for sharing. I'm curious about how you cope with those challenges. What are your strategies, your approach? I know you mentioned holistic approach. What are some other approach or techniques that you're using to deal with all those thoughts and emotions?
So how I coped. When I first discovered that I had cancer, at first I was looking on Facebook and I did a bit of research on my cancer, and so I went ahead and did a bit more research. This was last year, and wait, am I right? Yes, 2025, which was last year. And at first, it was my right breast, and there didn't seem to be any lumps on my right breast. And on my left breast, there was something funny. It was very close to my nipple. I noticed that there was a lump underneath, and it kind of felt pretty noticeable. And so I was a bit panicked. It really made an impact on me. I was a bit worried and anxious. I was crying. I felt alone. I was alone. I was very worried about cancer, and I wasn't sure what to do. And I was spiraling, thinking about my children. And I had all this worry. And I think the biggest worry was for my children, because I know that they need me as a mom, and they can't live without a mom. And that's a guarantee. So I really didn't want my children to feel worried. I didn't want them to think, where's mom? You know, I had to be there. So I was really spiraling and very anxious and worried. And I told my fiance, I have a lump in my left side of my breast. Can you see if you feel it as well? So my fiance said that yes, in fact, he did, and said to go get it checked out. And I said, I have cancer, I have cancer. And he said, wait, let's just see what the doctor says. You know, maybe it's benign, or it might be cancer, but let's go get it checked out. And so we made an appointment as soon as we could and went to the doctor, and the doctor said yes. The doctor could also feel the lump, and then referred me to a specialist to get an ultrasound and a biopsy and a mammogram as well. And when all of those were done, and I went through all of those tests, at first, during the ultrasound, my doctor came in and he noticed that there were some shapes that were different. I could see the monitor while the mammogram was going on. He said, there's this shape there. And he knows that the different types of shapes are different, whether if there's a round type of shape that is a circle, that could be benign. And with another type of shape, it was very recognizable as cancer. And that's what my doctor said. And so I immediately began to try hiding my grief and my depression and my tears. And as soon as the ultrasound was done, he said, do you mind doing the biopsy today? And I said, yeah, that's fine. And fortunately, I was able to get a biopsy the same day. And they called the surgeon over. The surgeon gave me, it was extremely painful getting that biopsy, very painful. So I was very patient. They removed this growth. And when I looked over at the monitor, or looked over at the surgeon, and I said, can I ask a question? And the surgeon said, yes, what's wrong? And I said, do I have cancer? The surgeon said, yes. But we're going to run some more tests, then we'll let you know if you have cancer or not. But by looking at your ultrasound, it's easily identifiable as cancer. So I began to cry. And this was on my birthday, keep in mind. It was the same day. I was crying quite a bit. My fiance cried too. And after this appointment, maybe about 2 weeks later, the doctor called me and said, you have cancer and you need to come in today as soon as possible. And so you need to start chemo and get surgery and all of these. And I felt it really hit me hard. I didn't even have the words to describe how I was feeling. It was depression. I asked him which stage was I. I was pretty fixated by the number of stages. Am I 1 or 2, or what stage am I? The doctor said, you're stage 2. I said, okay, stage 2. That's a little bit less than stage 4, but I was still unhappy about it. And he said, why don't you start chemo now, maybe next week? And I hadn't made a decision about chemo yet. I told the doctor I would let him know and make that decision if I was going to chemotherapy or not, go through that treatment. So I went home, I started thinking about it, and I decided, you know what? I should fly to the Philippines to see my extended family because, you know, what if I pass away and I might miss knowing my extended family, they might miss seeing me. So I flew to the Philippines and stayed for a month. And I met all of my family members. I was able to see them and embrace them, and they all cried, everyone cried. I made sure to take full advantage of that opportunity. So after about a month, the doctor had told me, hey, you need to start treatment pretty quickly. If you don't start treatment right away, in about 3 months, you might increase stage 2 to stage 3 in about, maybe even a month or so. So you need to start chemo as soon as possible because your type of cancer is extremely aggressive. And I didn't listen. I flew to the Philippines and I really spent time for the family. During that month, I wanted to do something healthy. I wanted to focus on my health, made sure I ate healthy. I was eating all different types of fruits and any type of food that I could take that would naturally reduce the cancer. So I felt like I was still trying to fight it and really take advantage of seeing all my family members and be as healthy as possible to try and fight this cancer by eating as healthily as possible. When I got back to the US, after about a month, it was about a 2-month delay. And so I was really trying to fight it myself and seeing how I could holistically fight it to be as healthy as possible to try and avoid chemotherapy if possible. So after about 3 months, it was still there. The tumor was still there. I could feel the lump. It didn't seem like eating healthy was making the tumor reduce in size. So I went to see the doctor and I said, okay, let's start chemotherapy. The doctor said, okay. And he said, well, I haven't seen you in 3 months. I feel like maybe you're up to stage 3 or 4 now. The doctor had a feeling. He said, why don't you go ahead and go get an MRI, go get some imaging done. And so I did the scan, the CT scan or the MRI, whatever type of imaging it was, and they said, your tumor is about the same size. It has not increased in size. And he said, maybe your diet of healthy food has been working. So remain consistent with your diet. It did work, but the tumor also, it didn't decrease. It's still there, and it was stuck in my left breast as well. And with chemotherapy, it would destroy that tumor. So I decided to start chemo, and I went to chemotherapy. And it wasn't something very enjoyable. I felt stressed, I felt depressed, I felt nauseous, and all of those side effects from chemo. I couldn't really focus on myself, and I really had to continue going to chemo. And then I decided to start sewing and do crocheting. So I learned how to crochet, and that was about 3 years ago. I took a crocheting class and I completed it, and then I was focusing on my work. And then when I had cancer, I stopped working. I was like, I can't just sit around. I need to be occupied and do something creative. If I just sit alone, I'll spiral and overthink and become anxious and stressed. So I decided that crafting or doing something creative would be helpful. So I went back to crocheting and knitting, and it really gave me peace of mind. And I was focused on something, and I thought about starting a new business. And that really helped me remain positive and helped me forget about all of the negative things that were going on. So that was one coping mechanism for me, was being creative. And secondly, you know, my kids kept me busy too. You know, it was really important, those two things, my kids and crocheting and knitting, and really expressing myself to my friends, better just talking to someone I trusted. And that made me feel better and better. It really reduced my stress and anxiety. And I felt like I was more under control during chemotherapy. I had to go for about 16 hours total. And so I just kept on going in, kept thinking positive. Yeah, sometimes I cried, but I really had to remain positive and keep the faith and try and ignore the stress. And family members, you know, if anyone was angry or upset, what I would do is I would just walk away. I would walk away from a stressful situation or any stress they might be unloading on me and focus on myself and my children. Were crying, I'd say, hey, my husband, can you take care of this? I didn't want to feel the stress. And so I felt better and better, and I began to recover. And my tumor was almost completely gone. And now my doctor told me that, hey, your tumor is almost gone, but we really need to do another scan soon, maybe in the next week or so. And so I'm really hoping, if they tell me that my tumor is gone, what that means is I was supposed to have 2 more chemo treatments left. And if they're telling me my tumor is completely gone, then I might not need to continue chemo. So I'm really hoping, my fingers are crossed, and if they're telling me my tumor is gone, I will be so happy. But of course, I need to have a discussion with my surgeon, which I can decide to remove it. I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do, but for now, I just wanted to tell you all how I was coping, and there's other ways to cope as well. Thank you for sharing. What was your coping mechanism or your techniques that you used?
Yeah, so for women, I feel like we need to have some early warnings, you know? Like for example, there's blood spots in our underwear or some early signs so that we can, you know, that we can just cope better. So since 2019, I saw those blood spots, and the doctor didn't seem concerned. He just, you know, ignored it, I guess. And later on, he said, "Well, you should have come in earlier. You know, what happened in the past is in the past, but now we just got to talk about the present, right?" Now, regarding coping, I have some very strong support there. My husband, my 2 kids, my mom, my sister, my brother. My brother also has cancer, so he understands. And it's in a cancer support group. We have a deaf cancer support group called Pink Wings. Pink Wings of Hope. And I'm still working, so that helps with my mental health. And that's it.
How I cope in my life is I pray every day, of course. I read the Bible. I talk to my wife. And what gets my mind off all of my problems is working. You know, I'm old, but I still work. I'm working at Amazon, and it really keeps me very busy. And it's not an easy job, but I really do enjoy it. Most people tell me, don't you hate working for Amazon? Because it's extremely physical work, and it's extremely busy all of the time. You have these rules and regulations and all that. And I tell them, you know, I'm just being positive. If I continue, then I continue. If they tell me goodbye, I'll accept it. I always have my wife. You know, nothing's changed with my wife. She's a wonderful woman. She's really supported me. And if I have other issues, you know, she forgets about them. She's really forgiving of me. You know, I'm forgetful sometimes because of my age. I'm 72 right now. And so sometimes if I forget something, my wife's always there to support me all the way through. So I'm so grateful to my wife. Thank you, sweetheart. You are a wonderful woman. If any of you have any issues, please please ask for support. You know, don't be so precious about it. Just be open, chat, be yourself in your daily life. Just how you talk every day, just be yourself. Don't change your feelings or the way you approach people or how you talk to them. And don't show any negativity. You know, always show positivity, and that will help uplift us. Because some people, like her, she felt torn, you know, I felt supported. You know, support is what really helps us a lot for us cancer survivors. And I'm grateful to all of you out there. And thank you for calling me. You know, I was so glad that I came. You know, if she wouldn't have let me know, I wouldn't even be here today. So now I'm here and I'm able to help you. Because you all need to hear it. You need to understand. You need to relate and feel for one another, not just think about yourself and be selfish. You know, you need to connect with others and think about how we can work together, collaborate, and make our lives successful. So thank you. Thanks to you. That's true. How about you?
So the way I cope is with my husband, my two children, my family, my husband's family, and work. Like they said, work. Just stay busy. And now I'm starting to also notice just more people that need support. You know, regarding cancer. Also noticing other people that also want to support cancer survivors. So I'm getting involved with different groups. And it's become my community, my people. And I want to suggest that for those of you that are here too. You know, let's connect, let's network. Like if you need some food, some donations, you know, being able to also give back to the community, not to feel alone, but to feel like someone's there for you. So that's the way I'm coping with motivation, just support, stay positive. And then continue with this workshop, it's just brought more positive feelings for me, and to see you guys' stories, it's also been really impactful.
It's a process for all of us. It's a work in progress for all of us. And that's why this workshop is so important. It's really a great idea so that we can have this mutual understanding and help others, because I have many friends on Facebook, and some of you might know me already. And so, you know, I'm getting so many phone calls, and folks are saying, oh, I had cancer recently, or I just found out I was diagnosed with cancer yesterday, and they've left me all these messages. And reading through them has been really touching, because all of these folks who have cancer, you know, you're worried yourself if you don't know how to cope and you don't know what to do and what the future will look like. It's really tough, but there's so many emotions that you're going through. But when you call, some folks call me and they're crying, and they're asking me for help and saying, you know what, I don't have any deep knowledge in this. I'm not an expert, but I'm willing to help. And so this workshop is such a wonderful idea. And I'm really hoping that folks on Facebook Live who are watching this streaming as well can really learn and benefit from this presentation, and also how to take care of others and not become depressed. And so now you know.
Yeah, I want to add something. as far as coping, it's also good to dialogue. Like, for example, last week I was talking with Jake, and we talked about, we were talking about the word cancer, the sign, and just other signs we could use. So it's also good to know more about this topic and how to cope with it. So opening that conversation, talking about it some more. What are some appropriate signs, that we can use? And I really appreciate that. I get that feedback, and it keeps us going, right?
I have something else to add. If any of you have friends, and please give them this advice. Say, hey, let's come together. Let's learn from one another. There's always an event here. You can ask Damara, because here at GLAD, they do have a number of events, and they do have a number of support groups and advocates who can help you. And so you're able to learn something. And so you can have a connection here, just like we are today. And I feel that this is such a great time. And I'm really hoping that we'll have more of these types of events in the future. And I'm sure that she will set them up. So I'm really hoping, because the more the better, the more the merrier. Please feel free to come and join us.
Yeah, and one last thing. I mean, I didn't know, like for me, it was last minute that I posted that we're doing this. But I'm so happy to see everyone that's here and that's learning from the presentation, and hopefully next time, for the next workshop, I will let my friends know earlier so that they can come, or just, maybe give them a month's notice, just more time.
That would be great. Please come.
Yeah, join us, stay together.
Yes, there's someone who'd like to say something. Can you hold on just 1 second, please? Yeah, go ahead. Oh, later? Okay. This person said that they have cancer, but will share with you a bit later. And now, if you all agree, this is a learning process, and it's an ongoing process. And you're here today because we want to learn how we can support each other a bit better. And we'd like you to feel, by the stories that you're telling today, that you're feeling supported, and that the things that people say to you will truly be supported. So what is your feeling? How can we learn from your message, and what do you think folks should say?
So yeah, well, I'm sick of people saying almost the same thing. They say, what's that word? Bad karma. That's bad karma. What? It's not bad karma. Or they'll say, well, it happens, or just words like that, very negative. Yeah. I mean, my body just had cancer, it just showed up. Where did I get it? I don't know. Like I got it during my pregnancy because of the, there was a symptom that happened in my body during pregnancy, and that's why I got cancer. But yeah, there are negative views on that. And some people's comments are positive, I get that too. And I do agree with staying positive. And obviously I don't agree with it. I have a negative point of view on it. Do you mind sharing some positive comments? So yeah, if you could share some positive comments. Do you remember some positive comments that maybe inspired us and made you feel supported? Oh yeah, so some people have said, oh, I'm sorry you have cancer, that you're going through it. I'm here to support you. Oh yeah, that was very heartwarming. And, some people just allow me to feel comfortable to express, how, I got cancer, and I just felt very comfortable talking to them about it. So for me, letting people know I have cancer, I did want to share my journey, but with people that have no cancer experience, telling me, oh, my friend had cancer and she just was throwing up and then she died. I was like, what? Wait. How does that help me? Why did you feel like you needed to say that? I hadn't gone through chemo at that time, or radiation at that time. So why would you bring up negative, growth situations? Yeah, that's not okay. It's just better to shut up and not share. If you're gonna say, like, okay, yeah, I have a friend who has cancer and is willing, if you want to talk to that person, that would be great. And I needed it at that time. I needed someone who had been through cancer. And I needed to ask questions. I needed that. Yeah. To help me and to answer those questions. So I've had another experience where, they said I'm on stage 1C. Well, I share that, and that person said, oh, you'll be fine. Really? You're not a doctor. You're not there to see the doctor concerns and expressions. I asked the doctor, will I be okay? The doctor said, well, it's an aggressive cancer. So for people to say, you'll be fine, so they'll minimize my feelings, A positive way to handle that would be saying, I'm with you. I'm gonna be with you all the way. I need a cheerleading team, I didn't have any. I didn't have that, so. Yeah, I'm gonna join you, and me too, I'm here to join you. We'll cheer together. Would you like to share? I could share while you're thinking about it, if you like. So a negative comment would look like, let's say you're sitting at lunch with people, and people say, oh, well, you look different, like, you shaved your head or something. Discussing about therapy experiences, maybe with the other cancer survivor having a different experience, or asking me, asking me about my situation, and saying, and someone else coming in and saying, oh, congratulations, you survived it. No, we had a really rough time, a traumatic time, and so many feelings, and saying, congratulations, you survived it in front of me and the other person. I was still going through the grieving process. So you shouldn't say stuff like that. You should say, how can I support you? And yeah, you join the conversations, but say congratulations to both of us. While we're trying to get that safe space, was odd. So that person apologized. But, it was an educational moment, but yeah, it's not good to say something like that. So, on a positive note, I get comments like, I'm with you, I'm here for you. If you need to talk about it, talk to me about it. You know, or, you know, what's your experience? You know, it made me feel welcome. You know, not like, oh, what should I say? You know, they were open. They wanted to know how to, what to do, like, you know, in the future, and I really appreciated that. So I've had some positive experience and some negatives, but you know, with the negative ones, I just set some boundaries, or I'll just walk, I'll leave, you know, so stuff like that. But I welcome the positive more so in my life.
I share with some of my coworkers, and I just tell them directly that I have cancer. And many of them just said nothing, and we're in shock. And that's okay. It's okay if folks don't say anything. Maybe they're thinking about it. And they asked me, do you have accommodation for work? You know, meaning you shouldn't do any heavy lifting. And I said, you know what? I prefer to keep things the way they are. And if I have any difficulties, I'll let you know. And they said, okay, we want to work everything out to make sure that things are successful. Don't feel sorry for somebody, because to give them a message, you know, like, oh, my dad had cancer. Oh, your dad had cancer. Then you can open up the dialogue and have that conversation and that sharing experience. And say, how is your father doing okay? And they might say, oh, your father's doing a bit better. And so maybe we can give each other some mutual advice that way. And just be positive is all I can say. I'd also like to add and really emphasize that how people may look when they're positive with cancer varies. And you might say, oh, this person, you look really bad. You know, cancer really does affect your appearance, and whether it's obviously identifiable or not, please don't say anything about folks' experiences. And I'd like to add as well, from my personal experience, when I was balding, my eyebrows were completely gone, and all of the hair all over my body was gone. And it was pretty clear that I had cancer. And when folks asked me if I had cancer, it really made me feel bad, because they like kind of would stare at me and try and analyze me. And that made me feel a bit negative, and I wasn't happy with my appearance. And I was in isolation a lot of the time because I didn't want to deal with the question of folks asking if I had cancer. And so I stayed at home and really isolated. And when you sit down with someone who has cancer, they might look a bit differently, and some person might say, congratulations, and the other person might feel badly. Make sure you mutually support these people. And nothing based on appearance. All the experiences everyone has and how they may look really varies. Whether you're going through chemo or not, or surgery, or different types of treatment, most important thing is to support everyone, period. You don't think, oh, this person needs a lot of help. Oh, this other person with cancer, I'm just gonna think about them. You know, mental health isn't a guarantee. Oh, you know, your mental health isn't visible. You know, we're scared a lot of the time as going through cancer, you know, and worried about our kids and family members as well. So I'd really like to emphasize that you keep that in the back of your mind. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate your words of wisdom, your knowledge, and your experience. And one thing that people can say, or one thing that we can ask, is how are you today? May I ask you how you're doing today, and the accumulation of your journey since going through surgeries and treatment and so on? How do you feel today? Well, my journey is still ongoing. I'm still not completed with the treatment. It's not ended yet. I'm still fighting. I still haven't completed my chemo treatments. There's 2 more left. They might tell me I may not need them. I hope that's the case, but I'm still moving forward, and I have a scar here. So this is a chemo port scar, and that should be there for 1 to 2 years. So maybe about 2 years from now, they may remove it. And the reason why I kept it, because I'm not sure if the cancer will be in remission or not. So I'll leave this there, and after 2 years, if I don't have any reappearance of cancer, then they'll remove it. So I'm still fighting. I haven't become a survivor quite yet. Looking at you when you say that word survivor, I don't try to identify that because so I had my last chemo treatment last August and radiation in October. So as regarding the remission of cancer, I'm thinking about a year later, are you a survivor? Or 2 years later, are you a survivor? Does it mean you're a survivor after 5 years? Define survivor, I don't know. So what's your definition of survivor? Well, the doctor told me that once you beat cancer, you become a survivor for 5 years. That's what my doctor told me. Well, I think it's a bit vague. Yeah, I feel like it's pretty vague too, but I follow what the doctor is saying, and I'm just thinking I haven't become a survivor yet because my doctor has told me that, because I'm still fighting. And so that's what my doctor told me. It said that I'm still fighting. Well, it hasn't been a year yet for me. And where that year started, I don't know. But I'm very blessed, extremely blessed, that I'm okay as of today. I'm still going in for CAT scans every 3 months. And I'm hoping it will not come back. That's all I can hope for. It will always be there in your mind. It will never go away. It's always going to be there. I'd like to add something briefly, if I may. I think the question was, how am I doing today? How am I feeling? And I'm feeling great. I feel healthy. I don't feel like I have anything physically that's bothering me. I'm able to be active. I even work out too. I'm even lifting heavy weights. Some people told me, don't do that, you have cancer. And I said, I forget it, I ignore them. I work out, I continue to run. I feel like I'm becoming more and more energetic, and I have more energy than I did before, because after chemo was over, I felt pretty weak and lethargic, because you remain seated all the time. You feel that limitation. And my system was really declining, and I don't want that to happen. And so I tried not to listen to the people's advice and doctors. I tried to run and work out a bit, and actually my body really, I had a lot more energy. I feel much healthier, and I'm fine now. I just stay the same. I work. I enjoy it. I move. I talk. I think. And I even dream. I dream nice and I dream well. There's not anything negative in me. I'm always prepared. My wife has supported me all the way through, and we're prepared for the future. You never know what may happen. I said, well, if I'm gone, it's all right. If I'm here, that's all right too, and I'm blessed. God's timing is perfect. It's His timing, not ours. Just live each day. One day at a time. And if something happens one day, it's okay. Seek out treatment, get your checkups, and keep on keeping on. Don't think, oh, I don't want anyone to know. Come on. You have help, you have resources. You need to learn about it. Help each other. Don't pity one another. Support them. They need us. And you need us. So just live each day. Live a life each day. So the word survivor, I'm really not sure if that's the right word for people to have in mind, like that definition or that label for any cancer survivor. And when cancer's over, there's this finish line. You don't know where that finish line is, right? Right. You need to travel and continue traveling and not think like, oh, the finish line might be there, it might not be. Right. What he said, this is a journey, and this journey continues. And situations may arise, life happens, and you have to confront these situations, and it's a journey, as far as the word survivor and that label and that definition, I'm not celebrating that definition really, because it's not over. So I agree with what she said. I think I really agree. I don't think you're struggling to be a survivor and then you're done and you can wash your hands of it all. It might come back. It might still be in your body. Are you a survivor then if you have remission? That's a good point. So I think this is a great discussion of that word and that phrase and that label. And, I'm following what my doctor says. Then my doctor says I'm a survivor. Great, I'm going to take that and go home. I don't know. I don't know if that's really the be-all and all. And so, doctors want to think they're doing their job, and we're trying to follow their advice and doctor's orders. We're patients, they're doctors. When you finish chemo, you check off the checklist. They give you a thumbs up and they say, all right, you survived. My way of thinking is that I don't consider myself a survivor. And so I'm hopeful. And I think we should have this discussion in the future about what word has been better. When I'm done with my cancer treatment, what's the right word to use? And this is a journey. I like that we're on this journey together. I'm with you. I'm not sure that survivor is the right word, but my doctor told me, hey, after you're done, you have become a survivor for up to 5 years. I said, okay, well, there's a lot of deaf people out there, who have had COVID or breast cancer or whatnot, and they're survivors after 5 years of treatment, and now we can say, congratulations, you passed the 5-year marker and you're cancer free. And so that was my belief. Well, I think it's up to the individual and their journey. If you're saying you want to call yourself cancer free, that's up to you. But there's a lot of words. There's no right or wrong word or label. I think just use what's best for you. I'm just putting it out there and saying that it's a journey, that's all. And that journey will continue. Well, my feeling is the same. I think I'm continuing my journey. And yeah, I like that. And I was just taking the doctor's word, what the doctor said, and I wanted to share that. But yeah, my cancer journey continues. And my cancer was right here. And the doctor said that he couldn't find it anymore, but who knows? It might be somewhere else. It might be overlooked. Yeah, she's right. Just live it and seek treatment. It doesn't have to be chemo. There are other options. Radiation, I went through radiation, the radiation machine. It was a massive machine. I couldn't believe it. The one thing I enjoyed was this massive machine. I was kind of in awe of it and how it worked. And I was just kind of watching it move and watching all these lights flash. And I had that feeling all the way across my waist. And then when it went the other direction back, it was like I was watching a TV screen on the ceiling. And I actually enjoyed it. That's what I enjoyed most about the treatment. Better if just sitting there. I really enjoyed the experience. It was like a TV. It was strange. And in another department, they didn't have a TV. Oh, there actually was a TV. So they didn't have a TV in another department, but my wife saw the machine. It was massive. And I really felt like there was an arm that was going to fall on me. It was just my imagination. But, it was always good. Cancer is always a journey, and it can happen anywhere. It can be from your head to your toe. It could be the tip of your finger or the tip of your toe. Just something to be aware of. Live your life. If you have problems, seek help.
So I think all of you guys are, sharing that word journey. It is a journey. So I can't imagine having a journey by yourself, right? It's much better when you have your wife, your kids, your husband. So can you talk about how cancer has affected your support system? And also their mental health? Do you mind sharing that? You mean, how my cancer affected my family? Yeah, your primary support system. Yeah, or your family, yeah, of course. And their mental health. I mean, any of you want to answer?
Well, really, I think it impacted my wife the most because she was there with me all the time. My friends and family, my family mostly lives pretty far away and we're not really in touch. And her family keeps in touch with me once in a while just to make sure I'm all right. And they ask my wife, and my wife supports me all the way through. I don't have too many issues because I know that she's there. And she already was completely prepared.
So if you don't mind, I don't want to talk for my husband. Do you mind, husband, coming up here? Right here. Maybe you can explain how that impacted you. Yeah, so how did that impact your mental health? Like just you take care of her, how did that affect your emotions or your physical? So, first of all, I was shocked. And I was hurt. She's a wonderful woman. I felt bad, but at the same time, I wanted to give her my support. She needed our support. That was the most important, that we're there for her. It wasn't easy at first, but I learned how to cope by being with her, helping her, taking her to all the doctor appointments, all that. Being with her, being involved. And it's funny, the community out there, they were asking me about her, and I'm thinking, why don't you ask her? I was hoping that they would ask her instead of asking me, like I'm her, I would have to answer for her. And some family would just ask me as well. I would just prefer, just go ahead and ask her. I think it would help her. So we went to chemo. I was there all the way with her, together all the time. We talked every morning. It helped her a lot. Hugs every morning. I was working. I mean, we were both working from home. We're lucky that it helped because I was there if anything happened. And once a week I get out and go to work outside. But yeah, she was well. She was improving a lot, and I was happy for her. And now she's doing it. She's okay now. So the important thing was to be there to support her. I mean, it happened, but it was good to be there for her. I have a wonderful husband. Yeah. I just want to add one thing. So I'm glad that we have a connection with the organization that Penguin Wings Hope. It's amazing. It's a great support system. We share feelings, experiences with the others through Zoom all over the U.S. They're all deaf, And I encourage you to be involved with it. If you know someone that has cancer, to join the group. I think it's wonderful. Yeah, great organization for support. And they also support people, the caregivers, like myself. You know, I was a caregiver. So support is there. Oh, oh, we have a flyer there, yeah. So if you need more information. This is it, yeah. So it's based in San Luis. You know, it's interesting, we meet every month and we were discussing different topics. One of the topics was that, you know, a husband came and he was talking about what he had to go through with his wife with cancer, and he beat it and it came back, did it again. Third time, I mean, she was gone and he was grieving, all of that. And then later, my wife told the organization, that's not helping us, that's negative. Why are we bringing that up? I mean, the fact that she's gone, let's keep it positive. And he realized that. And he told, you know, he said, yeah, it's just better not to be involved with that discussion segment. Yeah, if you don't want to hear that, yeah, don't join the discussion. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, her husband just covered all the resources, you know, so that was really great. Thank you for explaining the resources. Yeah. So our time is about to end. We can wrap up. Would you like to add how your caregiver supported you and maybe their mental health? Yeah, so it did support my fiance and my family. We were all in shock. We had no words, really, at that time, and they still supported me. My fiance was amazing. He was very willing to give up his job to take care of me because there was no one to take care of me. So he gave up his job to take care of me and our children. So he was just taking care of all of us. And sometimes our children would go to his sister's home during my chemotherapy. And, you know, anytime I had radiation or anything, she was very willing to help us for about a year. And so it did impact our finances because he didn't have a job. He decided to quit and to take care of us, and it was just very tough on our finances. Yeah, so that impacted him for sure. I don't know what word to use, but there was different levels. You know, myself going through cancer and my husband's family. Yeah, I don't have the right words, but I wouldn't know what his exactly feeling during that time, but it would have been nice to have. But my father-in-law going through that and the surgery and the passing away, it was a lot for the family. It was just hard for him, I'm sure. And he's still going through it. You know, he wishes that he was here to support me. Yeah, I can't really explain his thoughts or feelings. Like, he was always positive. So I wouldn't know how he really felt. Like, he would just say, I'm fine, I'm fine. What do you need? How can I help? So, yeah, I don't know if he's here to explain. Do you want to share? Sure. Actually, my wife, I would want her to come up. So my husband, that's my husband, Rob, and I took care of him. And when I found out he had cancer, I didn't know how to begin, the process with the surgery and the radiation. I think I learned that sign from him, radiation. I mean, we would go every 30 days, once a month. And we got through the surgery, and then after that, there was the shots, in the legs, and I'd help him, with his food and the loss of weight and stuff. And I'd ask the doctor, like, is everything working out? Okay. And there's some family, we got some family support and her nutrition and nutrition. So for me, it was just supporting him with the food. And I noticed he gained weight because he was eating more fruits, blueberries, strawberries, all kinds of berries, mostly. And he gained weight. And the other thing I remember is 2 years ago, he had a hernia removal, and we take care of that as well. During the surgery, when I arrived to the hospital, I was waiting. I started to feel sick, and also my dog was sick. Something regarding his heart. And when I arrived, I was feeling sick, and my husband had to take care of me. So it's just, and he had the surgery, so, and then we have to take care of the dog. He was 20 pounds, he was not supposed to lift him. I told him, don't lift him, he's being stubborn. But the dog was, the next day, he was recovering, and then we went, he was still healing. And I was getting better as well, and I went to the hospital to get sleep, taking care of him, me, the dog. I mean, that was interesting, but it all worked out, and we went through it just fine. The doctor said, you don't need to worry. The cancer's not spreading; it's just staying local. It's not going anywhere else. So that was, good for him. And would often, but we wouldn't know where things worked out. Great. So I know, do we have time to get to one or two questions from the audience? Is there any questions from the audience? Do you have a question? Yeah, step up. So my name is Helen Diamond, and they were commenting about cancer, and I had cancer in 2010. I wasn't feeling anything, or 16 years, 6 years ago. And when I went to my doctor appointment for my mammogram, I went back home, and two days later, they called me and said that there was something there going on. So I had to go back again and, reassess everything. And they just said, don't worry, just don't go home. And the second day, again, they called me and they said, yeah, it's not working out. So it just made me panic a little bit. And I went back to the doctor, and they did the same test, but this time it was an ultrasound, and they found there was some tightness, some tissue underneath a hidden growth. And they asked me if I had pain. I said I was fine. and they made an appointment for a biopsy. So, when I went there, you know, they put that needle in their, so whatever they need to take out, and they asked me to rest. And then I went home. And they called me 2 days later. I came back. And as I was walking, it was, you know, station one.
Stage one.
Oh, I'm sorry. They just told me, you just had stage one. So on the milk ducts,
Milk duct.
there's a tissue that needed to be removed, but they wanted to take some more pictures and do some more testing and go home. So 3 weeks later, I came back to the hospital in June, and they removed them. And they were looking at my lymph nodes on my side here. So before the surgery, they put in a blue dye. You know, they just asked me not to panic. And I had my surgery. They removed, and they said, "Oh, don't worry, it was just stage one." And then I got some more testing, and then I went to the oncology, and they asked me if I wanted medicine or chemo, and I just said, "Oh, I don't want any chemicals."
Radiation.
I didn't want radiation either, so I had another appointment in 5 weeks to go to the hospital, and they did radiation. You know, so just 1 minute long, just on you know, the upper area, and it was just so strong. And then, you know, after those 5 weeks, I relaxed and I went to the doctor, and the doctor said, "Okay, that's it. Your cancer is gone. You don't need medication." So I do go every year for my mammogram, and I've been the same. Like I think that, you know, that's also my mom. My mom, she's a famous interpreter. In 1984,
Stomach cancer, colon.
there's colon cancer and everything. I took care of my mother, and she passed away years later. But you know, I miss her, and you know, God, you know, right now I'm safe, and I thank God. You know, it's been 6 years, and I've been cancer free. I've gone to get my mammograms, and everything's been good. So I'm ready to go dancing. Thank you. Do you want to share this? Does this person want to share? Maybe two more.
Two now.
Let's see.
There's another event.
There's another event in there.
Close it up, sorry.
It's best that we close it up. Okay, so yeah, we've been here all morning, and fortunately, we had the time to also share our stories. There's still more food downstairs.
Downstairs isn't available. Let's
The
go to-
resources, yeah, let's discuss the resources. I think that's important.
So if we are available for support, for advocacy, for counseling, I would like to thank my colleague Tamara and thank all of our panelists. And you have a last comment, final word? Oh, I'd like to distribute these pamphlets here. And anyone who has breast cancer, or who's a cancer survivor, or still has cancer, or any type of remission, I can provide some resources. There's free flights. Or please meet downstairs if you'd like more information. Okay, and you can find these brochures as well. These are the Pink Wings of Hope, which is the Deaf Cancer Support Group. Yes, can you hold your question? Our time is up. Okay. So our time is up, right? Yes. So thank you so much, and thank you. We really appreciate it. This workshop and this panel has been extremely informative and educational, and also emotional. So to let our audience know, please keep it in the back of your mind. And when you go back home, please share this information with your family and friends who you care about. So to wrap it up, you'll notice that there's a QR code on the final slide, and it's extremely important for us. So if you wouldn't mind filling out a quick questionnaire, that would be appreciated. And also on the topic related to mental health, we have another event downstairs, and you can register at the table downstairs. We have a second event. It's a little bit of a different topic. We're also providing a $25 gift card. And so if you fill out this questionnaire, we can give you a gift card. So thanks again to our panelists. And one more thing is Janice just mentioned the Board Advocacy Organization to support a deaf group. And yes, it was on the previous slide as a resource, but there's also printouts on the registration table. So please pick up brochures there. Thank you, take care, have a safe drive home. Thank you so much, thanks for coming. Bye-bye, thank you, thank you. Thank you, bye-bye. All right, all done.